Hello and welcome to Afternoon Tea with Karen and why I won't be voting for the Legalise Cannabis Party.
Welcome to Nimbin, a place known for its activism and something else too.
People have known for 50 years you could come to Nimbin and buy a bit of weed, but Nimbin's much more than cannabis. You know, there's a whole lifestyle that goes with getting back to the earth.
The Northern Rivers town is home to the Legalise Cannabis Party, and its president can usually be found here at the Hemp Embassy.
I can't explain the magic of how cannabis works, but it's like you got to stir up a muddy pool and you leave it alone for a minute, it'll all settle and you can see clearly.
The party is pushing for cannabis decriminalisation, a moratorium on arrests and fairer drug driving laws so impairment, not presence, is tested.
We need to then open up dispensaries and be able for people to go and access it from a retail store, just like it's happening all over America and Canada. I've been to both and it's like just no big deal.
While medical cannabis is legally available to patients with prescriptions, recreational use remains illegal across most of Australia, except in the ACT, where adults can possess up to 50 grams and have 2 plants each. Research also shows that around 50% of Aussies support the legalisation of growing cannabis at home.
It would be just terrible if that's not legal within 5 years, and it might be quicker. Maybe a year or two. It's so political and it shouldn't be political at all, you know, this is a health issue.
The party currently has 4 sitting members across the country, and at the last federal election it received 2 to 7% of the Senate vote in most states and territories, just missing out on a seat in Queensland to Pauline Hanson.
We got 500,000 votes.
Thank you, President. Today on Ida Hobbit Day, my adjournment matter is for the Minister for Police. Recent attacks on the LGBTIQ+ community from extremist groups, including in my own electorate where council-endorsed family and community events have been targeted, have shown us that vilification is escalating. It cannot be ignored. Cancelling events for fear of these bigots is the very thing those bigots set out to achieve. It is not the solution. We in the LGBTIQ+ community need to be protected, not pushed out of public life. I acknowledge that the Victorian Government has committed to extending anti-vilification laws to protect members of the LGBTIQ+ community, but an 18-month wait for those laws, as foreshadowed by the Attorney-General in this chamber last week, is a long wait in the face of the violence that is escalating our community right now. But it does not mean that the police are powerless to address the hate speech and bigotry that is unfolding in our community. Under our current and existing laws, prosecutions are possible. Under Section 17 of the Summary Offences Act for threatening language and behaviour in public, under Sections 20 and 21A of the Crimes Act for threats to kill or injury, or for a course of conduct intended to cause apprehension or fear, under Section 195H for affray in the form of threatened violence that would cause a reasonable person to fear for their safety, under Section 474.17 on the Commonwealth Crimes Code for online conduct designed to menace, harass or cause offence. Our police should be vigorously policing abhorrent hate speech because it rips at the harmonious, peaceful and respectful fabric of our society. That type of policing should be happening now. So the action I seek is the Minister takes all steps possible to ensure that Victoria Police are using the full force of the law currently at their disposal to criminally charge and deter the bigoted behaviour.
Mr Berger. Ms Payne with a question, please.
Thank you, President. And my question is for the Attorney-General, Ms Symes, and I acknowledge your response to Dr Ratnam. And in a similar light, I'd like to also just talk about how deeply affected the actions of the far-right and trans activists ensued on us as a community over the weekend during the rally. And no one should be expected to endure hate speech that is designed to intimidate and humiliate, especially those already vulnerable and marginalised. So my question is, Minister, when will you move to legislate extended anti-vilifications protections that you supported in principle on the 2nd of September 2021 in response to Recommendation 1 of the Legal Social Issues Committee?
Minister.
Thank you, President, and I thank Ms Payne for your question and indeed support the remarks that you've made in relation to the impact that actions and words have on people. And it's never lost on me when we have debates in this chamber that affect the rights of vulnerable communities, particularly LGBTIQ+ communities. We've had many debates in here where we are championing the rights, but I know that commentary in itself is quite harmful. But of course, it's important work to advance. It is on the list to do. As you know, we have accepted those recommendations in principle. It was scheduled for work for me for the second half of this year. Obviously, we're pulling forward some elements of it. I've got a lot of legal reform that is really important to Victorians that we are working through, but this remains one of my priorities.
Ms Payne, supplementary.
Thank you, and I thank the Minister for her response. And I agree. In principle, there has been that commitment made, but can you give us those in the LGBTI community some reassurance that there will be also shield-like law reform protections for us from vilification, as made in that recommendation 1?
Minister.
Indeed, thank you, Ms Payne. We're looking at extending the list of attributes that are protected under our vilification laws, looking at hate laws, hate crimes, and whether there can be changes there. These are conversations that I've been having for some time, whether it's with representatives of our multicultural communities, members of the LGBTIQ+ community and advocates in this space. So there's a lot of interest in it. It is complex to get right. You want to get it right. And as we've said, sometimes the conversations can be harmful as well. So let's do it once. So that would be my commitment to you and to this chamber, that we will have more to say in this space.
And this one from 5 months ago has had 72 views.
My question is for the Attorney-General. Consultation on proposed changes to Victoria's anti-vilification laws closed last week. Now, it has been 18 months since the Attorney first promised these reforms, and I note the comments made in the Attorney's members' statement to have legislation introduced by the end of this year. I do congratulate the work of both the Attorney and the Minister for Equality to getting us to where we are today. Anti-vilification laws already protect people based on race and religion. These must be extended to protect LGBTIQA+ people against the mountains of hatred and vitriol often directed towards us. We exist no matter how much fringe groups may try and push us out of public life. We aren't going anywhere, and we deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. So to pivot, legislation is only part of the wider initiatives that the Attorney has talked about in this space. Can you please expand on what these initiatives include?
Thank you, Ms Payne, for your question. You were sort of bouncing, and thank you for I know you're very passionate about this, and I think it was my answer to you almost 18 months ago, where I actually regret giving the timeline because it sounded like it was so long ago, but it did take that long to get through what we needed to do. We wanted to make sure we were out there talking to everyone. We wanted to make sure those that were missing out on a protection that wasn't adequate could be included at the same time as lifting those protections so that we could cover many, many attributes, including LGBTIQ+ attributes that you've referred to today, as well as disability. But you did jump around a little bit between me and the Minister for Equality in relation to programs and education, which probably fits more squarely in the Minister's remit. But I can assure you that we work closely together. We have a task force that we both regularly engage with. But you are right. We don't want people to be charged with anti-vilification laws. We don't. We want the conversation. We want people to be tolerant. We want people to live in harmony, and we want people to learn what's appropriate and what's not, and we want people to feel safe. The law should be a safety net. They shouldn't be a tool to change behaviour. That is what conversations, that is what we all, particularly as leaders in the community, have a role to play. This will be a debate that we'll use as an opportunity for positivity. I want to talk about the good things that Victoria stands for. I don't want to say this is necessary, but I think we should be also talking about the amazing attributes or the amazing qualities that many Victorians have and the standards that we expect. I want this to be a safe debate. Nearly every time I bring laws into this chamber that involve greater protections for the LGBTIQ plus community, I have grave concerns about the impact on that community because it often brings out divisive, hateful debate. I hope we can do better than we have previously in relation to that. And I'll be working closely with my ministerial colleague in ensuring that we provide the support we need to get through this debate to ensure that the laws are there to protect everyone.
Thank you, President, and I thank the attorney for her response. And yeah, my apologies for jumping around a little bit. I did have to pivot with that question. By way of supplementary, the federal government has failed to fulfil its promise to deliver a bill to criminalise broader vilification and hate speech. Given the varying levels of protections in different states and territories, these vital changes would have ensured a nationally consistent approach to anti-vilification. So I ask, what advocacy will you do to encourage your federal counterparts to reconsider this decision?
Thank you, President, and I thank Ms Payne for her supplementary question. I share your disappointment that the federal government have not proceeded with some commitments that they have provided, but it meant that we can continue to lead the way in Victoria. And I think that we can lead by example. Other attorneys in other states are very interested in what we're doing. I'm also interested in some of the initiatives that other states are doing. There is a role for the federal government, but I won't wait to protect Victorians in absence of any movement in that space. We do have a federal government that have a lot of people that are interested in this space and want to move in this space. Time is not potentially right for them right now, so rather than rely on the federal government, we'll do what we can here in Victoria.
I wonder why the project didn't mention that bit. Anyway, that'll do. See you later. Bye.